Let's talk about WA landowner Tony Maddox. We've spoken to him on Outsiders a couple of times. He's now been found guilty of breaching WA's Aboriginal heritage laws after he built a bridge over an offshoot of the Avon River on his own property, on his own land, replacing an old bridge that had fallen apart. Maddox was charged last year because the creek beneath his bridge is associated with the rainbow serpent. That's a part of the dream time. We're not talking about an actual animal here. He's now been fined $2,000, given a conviction, and has to also pay $5,000 in costs. Patrick, to me, this is... Wow. You've got to be careful what you say, because you can't even give an honest opinion here without people losing their minds. But it seems astonishing to me, people who are happy to mock Christianity, happy to mock every major religion, they treat this as if it's almost beyond any criticism.
Well, it's sacred, isn't it? I mean, no one's ever heard of it before. And this poor bloke, Tony Maddox, I mean, he's doing work on his own property to make it easier for him. You're talking about these imaginary sort of stories that have nothing to do with the ebb and flow of the creek itself. And now he's out $7 grand fighting.
And the stress having this on your over you, having these sort of. We spoke to him last year, and I really do feel for people who get caught up in these sort of cases, because having the cost, the stress of a legal case like this, and he's now lost. So he's now got to consider, do I spend more money? Do I appeal it? And what are the risks of that?
He said he'd never heard of it when he did make the changes. And you believe him. He's working on his own property, and you would just assume.
And he had Indigenous people backing him, people from the local community. Yeah. Let's look at some alarming stats from the Australian Curriculum Assessment and Reporting Authority, showing that students' knowledge of how Australian democracy works has plummeted to a new low. Just 28% of Year 10 students met the standard for civics and citizenship. That's disturbingly low, Patrick. 1 in 4 isn't really good enough, given the amount of money we're spending in this sector. We seem to increase the spending in education, and the standards go the other way.
Look, we are one of the best democracies in the world. It's better than America, I would argue. It's better than Europe. It's certainly better than any country in the Middle East apart from Israel. These kids should learn how it works and why it is so good and why it is so important. And the fact that they're not sort of learning it, I think it sort of goes to the loss of the Australian identity that we're seeing in so many ways in the last couple of years. Australia, it's not a patriotic